Shalom, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem Rakah Kadash, double honors to the apostles and elders, great millstone, who rule well, and Shalom to all the brothers doing the work in sincerity and truth. Yeah. Saw this article, saw it today, and I was laughing because it really shows, where it's going, and really it was definitely coming. It was definitely inevitable because it's been a slow. Essentially, when the pandemic situation, when the lockdown started, it was like they said a bunch of things that they weren't gonna do, and all you've had is slowly all those things that were, they said they weren't gonna do, have become essential. Those things have come in. So yeah, it's that's funny as hell. Cause with I remember with it becoming mandatory, it was the same with what else was it? With the Maxine passport. They mentioned that fucking like 2020, like May or June, when they started doing tests for the original jabs. They that's when they first spoke about it. Said no, we'll never implement it. Blah blah blah. But over now, all of a sudden, it's switched up, and that's how it's gone with the vast majority of these things. It's kind of put people at ease by just saying, oh no, we're not gonna do it, blah blah blah, and then over time, just as people get worn down, then you can get more out of them. So it says what see jabs to become mandatory for care home staff in England. It says ministers considering extending compulsory vaccination measure to all NHS staff, which that I think is where it's going to be expanded to first, because I'm not sure about police and maybe police. It's already become mandatory. I'm not sure. I might say in the article, but like emergency services, civil servants, that's what. Well, they call them what, frontline staff or whatever. That's I think where they're gonna thingy first. That's where they're gonna push it first. Making it mandatory, and then spread out from there. Because that's the it's the usual method. You kind of enforce it, and that's why like the military, they're looking to enforce it even in the States, because people aren't jumping on it because it's experimental. Same with a lot of the like NHS stuff. They're just saying like, yeah, it's experimental, and I think they said it could be a human rights violation. But okay, we'll see it. So it said C vaccinations are to become mandatory for care home staff under the plans to be announced by ministers as they consider extending the move to all NHS staff. The controversial measure sets up a likely battle with staff in both services and could see the government sued under European human rights laws or equalities legislation for breaching the freedom of people who work in caring roles to decide what they put in their bodies. Yeah, so it's kind of the legal, angle there, and it could just be that's how they're gonna get rid of this, those laws, because they'll essentially just be like, well, if it's an extreme enough circumstance, if there's a dangerous enough situation, then we suspend that shit. And that's really what it's gonna be. It's gonna be a thing where, because that's what it's now. You walking out and leaving your house, there was a period of time where your ass was gonna get a fat fine, for walking out of the house and going to the park. There's people getting fined for that shit. So that's why it's people have been stripped away from their rights to do things, and you've had as well. It's with in the UK they had the new high holy day. It was gonna be June 21st when all the restrictions were meant to be lifted. Now they push it back a month to July 18th, I believe it is. And they said they're going to review it for then. And depending on how things goes, it could continue to get pushed back, because it's like people say, it's like the furlough scheme got extended to September, I believe, or maybe October, around that time. So there's a likelihood that they can push it back as far as that, just to push back as far as that, just to continue to grind down the people's minds, because that's really what's going down. People's minds are being annihilated. So it says the Guardian understands that the ministers will confirm they are pushing ahead with compulsory vaccination for most of the 1.5 million people. Working in social care in England, despite employing staff organisations in the sector warning that it could backfire and see workers quit rather than get immunised. Under the plans, those working with adults will have 16 weeks to get vaccinated or face losing their jobs. So yeah, you'll likely have a bunch of people just jump off the ship as well. So the government is also keen to make it mandatory for 1.38 million people who are directly employed by the NHS in England to get vaccinated against C-19 and winter flu, proposals that have already been criticised by groups representing doctors, nurses and other staff. The Department of Health and Social Care. So yeah, they're looking to expand it. And usually if it's being mentioned, it's just a matter of time. It's just they're finding a way to package it so it's acceptable. Department of Health and Social Care will in the coming days launch 2 separate consultation exercises into making C and flu jabs mandatory for NHS staff. But ministers, including the Health and Social Care Secretary Matt Hancock, believe the arguments in favour of protecting patients from potentially infectious staff now outweighs those that allow health workers the right to choose whether or not to have either immunisation. Yeah, so it's gonna be like they'll just say, look, there's too much risk, too many people are dying. So that's and then they can push it out. But yeah, it's that mandatory. It's in the pipeline, and it's as it is now. It's what do you call it? Damn. As it is now, it's not been spread out to everyone just yet, but it'll be a process where it's just they say, okay, goes up more and more rungs up the ladder that has to kind of spread out to. And then, yeah. Psalms 55 and 20, he hath put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. He hath broken his covenant. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. Yeah. So that's the thing. That's how, this man operates. That's how Esau operates. These guys, these elites, they do things. They'll present themselves like they're coming peaceably. They're coming to aid, to help. But then, what is it? It's really there's harm underneath, man. Talking the slick words, man. That forked tongue, that silver tongue. We're saying like, look, you do X, Y, Z, everything can go back to normal. But you're realizing through the process of time, this isn't about going back to normal to normalcy as it was. It's going back to a new type of different type of normal, and that's what's being that's where it's going to, and it's becoming clearer and clearer for people to see that, like, yeah, this is it's not, the dream's dead, man. Let the shit go. It's not gonna happen. That so called normal, that all the fun times that they were having, just over a year ago, well, a little over a year ago, it's not going to come to a time where that is that is again just how it's going to be running, man. Let me read this. Daniel 8:25, and through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand. Yeah, that once he passes the legislation saying, hey, this thing's mandatory, that's his craft prospering. And that's the thing with these elites. Their policy is always about getting to their end goals, which is the plans they've had for a real long time, trying to basically cement in that new world order, man. Trying to get in, the people under control, and essentially having yeah, having that total control, man. Having the people under their thumb, and them having the dominion over the earth, forever. That's what they dream. That's what they lust for. This is what, and he shall magnify himself in it. And he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. Yeah, by peace shall destroy many. That's the thing. It's not outrightly just going out and chopping people's heads off, or sticking gun barrels in people's faces. But they'll sit in Parliament. They'll be talking on TV, blah blah blah. Then they'll vote. The law will get passed. It'll go to the Queen. Then bang, and through those acts, people have been brought to destruction. So that's why it's seems peaceful that just writing on pieces of paper and having a chat. But what that piece is bringing death and destruction, man, onto people, and that's what Esau putting that as Maxine, and really going to that mark, because that's the key point. That's the key thing these elites are trying to get, and that's a key point of when the taking, rejecting of that is the harsh line between those 2/3 and the elect. Because why you those that basically have complete and utter faith in Esau in this realm, they're gonna be down with anything, man. They're gonna jump on the max. They're gonna jump on getting the mark as well, getting that implantable microchip under the skin. It says, what, he shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hands. Yeah, so he's going to stand up against Yahweh Shai. That's also in the scriptures. Esau's going to have everyone coming together, trying to, come against Yahweh Shai. That's what, that's how insane this guy is. But yeah, that's, these things, it's that mandatory is coming, and it's gonna, even if it doesn't come, that it could come through the means of basically the vaccination passports being utilized in most main where it might be like the bank the bus, the public transport, all that kind of shit. They'll just start being like, hey, look, you ain't gonna be able to unless you can prove X, Y, Z. You ain't gonna be able to utilize these systems, which is what it is with that mark. With that mark as well, it's just gonna be, hey, if you ain't gonna mark, you ain't gonna be able to buy or sell. You ain't gonna be able to function within society. But yeah, I'll leave it there. Shalom, Yabashim Yashab, Hashem Rakakatash Bakata. Shalom.